Welcome back to the Idaho Panhandlers, everyone. My name is Danny, and today we're building this guy. This is the DIY 12-bucket container garden full build. So there's a couple points that I actually want to talk about before we get into the full build. Now, why would I build this and who is it for? Now, we live on 5 acres here in North Idaho, and we have plenty of area and space for a full enclosed garden. And it's something I've been wanting for a really long time. However, I just haven't had the time or the money to make it, and this is going to be the year that we actually do it. And I do intend on building a small 10 by 12 enclosed garden area on the property here, but that's going to take some time, and by the time I probably get it done, it'll be midsummer versus the end of summer. And I wanted to make this so we can at least plant something early on in the season. Now, if you have a smaller yard, if you don't quite have the room for a fully enclosed garden, something like this would probably be perfect for you. It really doesn't take up a whole lot of space. It's about 5 feet long by about, give or take, 4.5, 5 feet wide. This is all just numbers I'm spitballing off the top of my head. But it really doesn't take up a whole lot of room, and I think it would be perfect for that reason as well. Now, in this video, I'll be including the entire cut list. I'll pop it up on the screen, put it down in the description below to make it as easy as possible for you if you want to build something just like this for yourself. But essentially, all that we used on this build were 4x4s for the legs, and then the rest of the build is made out of 2x4s. Some of the other tools and equipment we bought and used were 2.5-inch deck screws and then 3-inch lag screws. Again, I'm going to put all this down in the description below. But then the only other tools we really needed were a drill and a saw. Now, in this video, you'll notice that I actually struggle with my cuts a little bit because my miter saw actually broke. And so I'm using 2 different circular saws and a hand saw at one point, and I made it work. But I hope that what that proves is that you really don't need a whole lot of major, big, expensive tools to make this. You really just need a drill and a hand saw. You can make it work. So obviously in this video, I'm gonna go through everything from the cuts to the assembly, to the types of bucket that we use, to the finishing that we did with boiled linseed oil. We're going to go through everything. As far as the total cost for this project, I'm just spitballing numbers off the top of my head, but I'm gonna say it cost me right around $250 to make. That's about $120 for lumber, about $100 for the buckets, and about $30 for the hardware, like the screws and the lag screws. And on that note, I think it's time to get into the full build of the 12-bucket container garden. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a thumbs up on it, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. Okay, so for this bucket garden build, we're just going to start with the whole entire cut list, get everything cut, and then we'll be right on to assembly. So we're starting with our 4x4. So I'll be putting the cut list down in the description. I'll pop it up here on the screen, and I'll kind of talk about it as we go as well. But as far as what we're going to need out of these 4x4s is we're going to need 4 4x4s cut in 42-inch lengths. We'll need 2 4x4s cut into 28-inch lengths, and then we'll need 2 4x4s cut into 14-inch lengths. These will essentially be our legs for the bucket garden. So let's get our 4x4s cut, and I'll kind of show you as we go along. Okay, so all of our 4x4s are cut, and just to review, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, all cut at 42 inches long. Next we have 1, 2 4x4s, both cut at 28 inches long. And finally we have 2 4x4s, 1, 2, both cut at 14 inches long. Okay, so next on our cut list, we're down to 2x4s, and we have 6 2x4s right here. We need to cut all 6 to 52.5-inch lengths. Okay, so now that we have our 52.5-inch 2x4s cut, we did 6 of them, it's time to cut 15 2x4s, all at 11.25 inches, or 11 1/4. I really wish I had a miter saw. This $20 circular saw from Harbor Freight that's for left-handed people, and I'm a right-handed, it's not working so well. The blade's dull, and I'm just kind of saving for one, so if it looks like I'm struggling, it's because I am. So we'll get this done though. This is a project where you really don't need a whole lot of tools. But yeah, we'll get to these cuts and then we'll be about done with all the pre-cuts. Okay, our cuts, we are finally done. We have 15 2x4s cut at 11.25 inches, and then behind us here, I'll just take the camera. We have our 6 2x4s cut at 52.5 inches long each. So now it's finally time to assemble. We will actually have 2 more 2x4 cuts at the end, and basically what those will be, they'll be like the runners or the connecting pieces that will connect all the legs together at the base of the bucket garden. But I'm pretty sure I know about how long they're going to be, but in case I was off a little bit, I'm just going to measure at the end, cut them, and then attach them, and we'll kind of focus on that later on in the video. But for now, it's time to assemble, and we're going to start working on each tier of the bucket garden. So we'll have 3 of those, and we'll start attaching them. I'll show you what we do next. Okay, so as I mentioned before, it's time to make each tier. So we'll be making 3 of these, and so we'll have 2 of our 52.5-inch 2x4s, and then we'll be making 4 holes essentially for each of the bucket to fit into. And we'll do this 3 times, kind of like so. So as we go, I've got a square. We'll try to keep it as square as we can. And then I have a bucket of 2.5-inch deck screws, a drill, and yeah, we'll start putting it all together. Pretty self-explanatory here. Okay, so next up we need to make our bucket holes, if you will, in our first tier. So essentially the spacing between each 2x4 is going to be 11 1/4 inches, 11.25 inches between each one, and that will make 4 holes for each bucket. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to use 2 of our already pre-cut 11 1/4 2x4s, and I'm just going to place them in here, and then that should give us our ideal spacing for the bucket. So we'll do that on each one, and we'll screw them in, and that will be our first completed tour. Our first completed tier. Okay, so our first tier is done. Kind of looks like so. and I have a bucket here, and we'll do the bucket test. Make sure it works with our measurements here. All right, perfect. So that's exactly what we want. So we just have to make 2 more of these tiers. I won't bore you guys with doing that. I think you kind of get the point. We'll make 2 more of these guys, and then we'll attach them all with the 4x4s, and we'll be pretty close to being done. Okay, so we have all 3 tiers made, 1, 2, 3, and now it's time to attach our 4 42-inch 4x4s to one of them. So essentially, we're just going to attach them on the outside, on all 4 corners, and that will create the 3rd and the highest tier, and then we'll continue to connect them from there. So this is where it could probably be a little bit easier if you had another set of hands to give you a hand or to give you some help, but I don't, and we're just gonna have to try to make the best of it. So we'll get these on, and I'll show you kind of how we do it. For this part of the project, I did buy some 3-inch lag screws that will be going into the 4x4 posts. Give them a little more structure, be a little more beefy, if you will. So let's use them. Oh, Lord. Jesus. I like it. So now it's time to build the other 2 tiers. It shouldn't be difficult at all. We're going to start with the 28-inch 4x4s, and it'll be just 2 legs, and then the whole base of the 2nd tier will just attach right here to this 4x4 and that 4x4, and it should be pretty straightforward from here. check it out. It actually kind of turned out. So I'm pretty excited about it. I wasn't sure about all my calculations at first, but everything worked out, and it's really coming together. So before we know it, we're gonna have peppers and potatoes and tomatoes. I'm pretty excited about it. So we've got a couple more things to do. We're not going to finish this today. You can probably see I'm about to lose my sunlight, but we got to get our 2x4 that stretches along each 4 legs on each side, and that will kind of provide some more stability for it. But other than that, we're about to wrap it up for a day. So we'll go measure those 2x4s, cut them, attach them, and call it a day. And then when we work on it next, it'll all be about finishing and making this thing look nice. So stay tuned, and let's get those 2x4s on. $57 5/16. Get back, get back. Alright, you guys, so that is a day's work. We basically got the entire bucket garden, container garden completed. However, we still have some things that we need to do to make it look nice. So my plan is to take the sander to it, really make it smooth, and then we'll probably go with some boiled linseed oil just kind of on the outside to kind of offer some exterior protection for it. So that's the plan next, and yeah, hopefully within a good 3 weeks or so here in North Idaho we'll be able to plant some vegetables and actually use this thing. But I'm really excited with how it came out today. We will see you guys in a couple days. Alright, so we're back a couple of days later. We're on to the sanding stage of the project. I'm not planning on going too crazy here, but I do have a hand sander with some medium grit 120 sandpaper, and we're just gonna go do a nice little once over on the whole entire bucket garden here. We've got some discoloration, and I just kind of want to smooth it out, make it look a little bit nicer before we finish it with the boiled linseed oil. So we'll do that, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so we're officially done sanding. Again, I just did a quick once over. I kind of wanted to hit the main spots, the visible parts, because there's a lot of discoloration on the lumber that came from the company that I bought it all from. And, you know, was it completely necessary? I don't know. We're about to hit it with boiled linseed oil, and you know, this thing's gonna be living outside, so I didn't need to do a super good job sanding it, but I got kind of the parts that I wanted to do, and now it's time to finish, and we're just going to put a bunch of coats of boiled linseed oil on, just to kind of give it a protective layer so it can hopefully last throughout the summer and for more years to come. So that's the point of finishing it, and so we're gonna do that, and hopefully it'll give it a nice kind of dark, rich color, and it'll look really nice. So we'll do that, show you what it looks like. Get All right, so that is 3 finished layers of boiled linseed oil on this thing. Now, off camera, I've been kind of taking the time to tip it on its side, really work at getting under the bucket garden as well as getting on top, try to provide as much protection and as much sealant on all parts of this thing as I can. Now, I plan on doing quite a bit more layers, if you will, of the linseed oil, and I don't quite remember where I heard it from, but it was from a recent YouTube video on a different channel, and they said that the rule of thumb was to add a layer of boiled linseed oil every day for 1 week, and then after that was 1 week for a month, and then after that was 1 month for a year, and then after that was to layer it on every year after that, if that makes sense. I believe that's what they said. So I've only done 3 coats. You can kind of see it's beginning to get a really nice dark rich layer here on the fur, and it should add a really nice level of protection for it. And so I'm really liking how it looks and how it's coming out. I think we should add the buckets into it and talk about those really quick. Okay, so here we are loaded up with 12 buckets. Now, I bought these guys from Home Depot just a couple of days ago. Obviously, I got 12 of them, but they are the buckets that are technically considered to be food grade containers, safe for use with food. Now, to know that they're food grade, you want to look on the bottom and you'll find a triangle with the number 2 inside of it, also with HDPE underneath it. And basically what that means is generally it's safe for food. Now, I don't know if it really matters if you were to use like the orange Home Depot buckets versus these for growing things, but as far as food storage, if you were to store potatoes in these, you know, in a root cellar over the wintertime, this is what I would want to use personally. So that's why I bought these. I see a lot of people using just general buckets, to each their own. So these were about $8 a piece, and with tax, I ended up spending right around $100, a little over, for all 12 of these buckets. And on that note, this is where I'm going to end the video for the DIY bucket garden build. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'm really happy with how this thing came out. It exceeded beyond my expectations, and I'm just so excited that we'll actually have, you know, a setup to where we can grow vegetables and fruits this year. Now, this is only the start of a video series for the garden in which we plan on planting here on the Idaho Panhandlers channel. The next video series will go into probably planting some potatoes, preparing our buckets by drilling holes, mixing adequate soil and the right kind of soil in these buckets to grow our fruits and veggies, and I'm really excited to just get on with it and start growing some plants. If you guys want to track our progress and what we do over the summer and what we grow, I'd love to have you along, so be sure to leave a thumbs up on this video and subscribe to the channel, and we will see you on the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching.